Hi, and welcome to another LRCC Soundbite. Do you like sailing? Or do you even like boats? My wife Julie doesn't like small boats. Every time somebody moves, the boat rocks, and some people really don't like that. Bigger boats can be much more stable. I've been on a boat on the Norfolk Broads before. On those rivers and the Broads, there are never waves that are too big. But then again, once I had to get a ferry from Dublin to Holyhead, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that it was a complete roller coaster. The whole way across we were pitching up and down so hard, and it was a brave person who tried to go and get a coffee and bring it back to your seat. Well, today's story finds Jesus and his disciples in a boat heading across Lake Galilee in Israel. At its widest, it's about 7 miles across. But at this point where they were crossing, it was probably a bit narrower, maybe only 3 or 4 miles. Nevertheless, it's quite a way. Now, Lake Galilee is known for having sudden and violent storms that can't always be predicted. It's nearly 700 feet below sea level. The water gets really warm, and it's surrounded by really steep hills that cause cold air to rush down and meet the warm air over the water, and that generates some pretty serious weather. Now, this occasion, as Jesus and his disciples were crossing, they suddenly found themselves in a very nasty and dangerous storm. And it's not like the disciples didn't know what they were doing. Several of them were fishermen before they joined Jesus. So they knew sailing, they knew Lake Galilee, and they knew how to read the weather. This was really unexpected, and they were afraid. Meanwhile, Jesus, who had been teaching and speaking to crowds all day, is having a well-earned rest. He's asleep in the back of the boat. Now, this storm starts to get worse and worse and even worse, to the point that these experienced fishermen aren't sure they're going to get through this. They know they're in a lot of trouble. Water is coming on board. They're starting to lose the battle against this. They are likely to sink. So they wake Jesus up, because after all, another pair of hands to help isn't going to be a bad thing. But Jesus shakes his head and shouts at the wind and the waves and just tells them to be quiet. Immediately everything stops. The storm has gone, and it's like they're sitting on a mill pond. Jesus turns to them and says, "Why were you afraid? Don't you have faith in me and what we're doing?" And the disciples really don't know what to think. They've never seen Jesus like this before. Yes, they've seen him heal people who are sick and do amazing things, but to control the weather and the lake, they weren't prepared for this. And now when I think of this story, there's a few takeaways for me. And I think the first is probably, no matter how big the problem, Jesus is always bigger. There's nothing that is too big for him. That's not to say every time I come across a problem, Jesus just clicks his fingers and sorts it out for me. Jesus' rhetorical question to the disciples was, "Don't you have faith?" And as a Christian, I trust him, whether things are calm or stormy. Because life can be stormy at times, can't it? And things can seem really bad. But my faith enables me to trust Jesus whatever is going on. I know that in the end, he's got my back. I can't tell you that I always know how things will turn out, and I can't tell you that I don't get worried or scared at times. But there's always something there that keeps encouraging me and helping me to move forward. I don't know what storms you might have going on in your life at the moment. I do know that at times they can seem insurmountable, and you might not be able to see a way out. If you'd like us to pray for you, just drop us an email. You don't need to tell us anything about the situation if you don't want to. At the end of the day, God knows, and that's all that matters. But we'd be happy to ask God to help if you'd like us to. God bless you. I hope your weather is good, and I'll see you next time.